Welcome to Rate the Dream, Life, Love, and Mortgages. I am your host, Melissa Landon, and I have Gene. I'm going to screw your name up again, even though you told me. Say it for me.
Bochniak.
Bochniak. Okay. With me, and he is going to, we're going to pick apart renovation loans and how they work. Since we're seeing a lot of people in this market loving that low interest rate, and instead of selling it or, I guess cashing out, some of them are, they're looking at renovation loans and even buying. We've seen a lot of homes that are just as is. So they're purchasing with a reno or refinancing with a reno. But I figured having you on here, since this is your expertise, that you could give us the ins and outs and the do's and the don'ts on reno loans.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
It's great to be part of the team. We do have a really good renovation team here. This is the third company I've ever worked for in my career. The first one was horrible. The second one was pretty good. This one's amazing. And our
Nice.
renovation department is absolutely just blew my mind. The first reno loan I did here, they talked a good game. Hey, it's going to be great. Reno's going to be awesome. And they were right. It really is. I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more confident in what we can accomplish here, and the ease with which we can accomplish it. So, let's do some reno, man.
Yeah.
Um, you
So
know,
explain a little bit to me how they work, because I know there are
Sure.
different renovation loans.
Yeah,
So if you'll explain a little bit how that works. So if
here's-
someone currently owns their house and they don't want to do a full construction, they want to do renovation, what does all entails for that?
sure. So, renovation loans basically are, very simply speaking, they're just specialty financing that enables the buyer or the borrower, the homeowner, to go ahead and make the changes they want to make and personalize and customize the home to the standards that they want it done to. So if somebody already owns the home, we do a
Mhm.
refinance and renovate. So we're going to come in theoretically, we're going to, in the best case scenario, we're going to refinance the existing first loan. They're going to get one loan at the end to cover what they owe on the house plus the cost of the renovation. All right. Now,
Mhm.
when I say cost of renovation, that's kind of in quotation marks because the cost of the renovation is a function of certain things. It's not just the contractor invoice. There's a contingency reserve. There's other fees and whatnot. So, if you're doing $100,000 renovation, it might be 115 or $117,000 renovation escrow account.
Okay.
Because there's safety features built in there. Because when people are estimating jobs, they don't have Superman X-ray vision. They can't see through the walls. And when they open
Right.
things up, they tend to find things occasionally. So there's money there to save that.
And the
Um,
reserve requirement is for that essentially, right? If we all of a sudden we tear down a wall and realize, oh, there's something, it gives their a
right,
cushion to
right.
be able to pull from in case something's more expensive than you budgeted for.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if they got to pay for it and the job's got to
Yeah.
be done. So if they don't have the money, that's the worst case scenario. We go out of our way to make sure we're not going to put them in that position. Um,
Okay.
so they're great, they're awesome as long as the person you're dealing with, me, knows how they work. Most of the work I get comes from locally here. And over the years, I've kind of built my reputation by people will go to XYZ Mortgage and they say that they do renovation loans, but the loan officer that they're dealing with really can't even spell the word renovation. They've never done one. They don't know what to expect or what to anticipate. I'm very good at anticipating problems. I'm one of those guys that hates surprises. It's great when the surprise is awesome, but the reason I hate surprises is because most times in my life, and you can tell I'm only 25 years old, you see the gray hair here. Okay. The surprises have not been awesome. So,
Okay.
we do our best to, one of the jokes they used to have before I came here, the prior company that I worked for, they used to call me Gene, the crusher of dreams, because, a young family would come in and they binge watched DIY TV all weekend long. And, oh, we're going to buy that farmhouse and it's going to be
Yes.
phenomenal. Well, let me ask you a question. Did you ever think about this? No. Did you? No, no. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to destroy dreams. I'm trying to save them from, the negativity that comes along with making a bad decision because that negativity comes in the form of money that you have to spend that you can't recover once it's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
So, the what it, to fill in what I was talking about earlier, folks would come to me with a job that they started somewhere else at another mortgage company. We're 3, 4 weeks into it. They're out $1,500 or $2,000 so far with a box of broken pieces and, very emotional. And can you save this? And within a 5-minute conversation, I'm like, I'm so sorry. This should have never been a rental loan in the first place because
Right.
the person didn't know what to anticipate,
Okay.
and make them aware of it. You know, if
Yeah.
there's issues that come up, if you've made people aware that it could be an issue up front and they decide to move forward through that issue, well, then, okay, we took a shot and you were very explanatory and we expected it might go wrong. So, oh, well,
Yeah.
um, and that's helped a lot. Uh,
Okay.
so basically what we'll do is we'll help you. You got to get a contractor involved and you may need to get architectural plans done depending on the type of job you're doing and all those things. So we kind of pull all those things together. We explain the timeframes involved, the costs involved. We put numbers out there. And I strive all the time to make sure that people know what they're getting themselves into before they risk finances, before they risk money. Um, we
Yeah.
have we have several different loans that we can do a reno. Basically, the categories are FHA, and everybody gets it mistaken. They call it the FHA 403B or 401. It's the FHA 203K. Okay?
Yeah.
People get all, and then there's two variations of that. And people try to throw out what they used to call the FHA streamline, because streamline sounds easy and,
Right.
really it's more difficult. Okay. Because there's certain things that go along with that. So I try to tell people, look, let's let the job dictate the way that we go. I'm not going to put you in a position to get into something that costs more because they all cost the same. You know,
Right.
so let's do this right and with the least amount of hassle. So we've got FHA. There's two variations of that. We've got conventional and we've got VA, and they all have their pluses and their minuses. And
Right.
they're all slightly different. So a lot of people come to me, hey, I want to do a VA loan and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't work like that with a VA loan. VA is think about the VA. Okay.
Hmm.
All you hear is negativity about the VA in life. All right. And how much of a hassle they are. This isn't that much of a hassle, but it's very compressed. There's much less that you can do with a VA renovation loan than there is with a regular FHA or convention. So if they
Okay.
have low money down situations, we need to steer them away from a VA, renovation loan if they want to do that $100,000 project. And it doesn't take much these days to have $100,000 project.
Yeah.
You know?
Because what all can you tie into it? Like most people, when they're thinking like bathrooms, kitchens. Like I know there are certain things we don't do. Is there a dollar amount that you're capped at?
Are you talking for a specific VA loan or any of them?
No, 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 just in general for, like, a
Okay.
renovation loan, right? Like, because I know,
Yeah.
like, there are specific programs, so a lot of it's gonna be kinda case by case, right? Depending on what they
Yes.
want done, what their credit scores, like, all of that, right,
Yeah.
depends on which program you put them into, but just the very generic of
Sure.
it, like, what is the most common things that you see people, whether they're refinancing into the 203K or the renovation loan, sorry, or they
Yeah.
are purchasing with a renovation loan, what are the most common things that you're seeing that people are renovating?
Right. So, like you said, it's all over the place. Some
Yeah,
people they found that ranch home they want to buy. They want to buy a home in a specific area, specific school district, specific neighborhood, because the landscaping's mature and it's a great neighborhood and their friends live there. But the only things available are maybe a ranch right now,
right.
and inventory is very difficult all over the place. So, maybe they want to come in there and they want to raise the roof and put a second story over it. They want to build out the back or something like that. We can certainly do that kind of thing as long as the project that you're doing will add value to the home. So, where we run into trouble is, I had one a couple 6 months or so ago. They wanted to do a renovation because they wanted to take the bathroom and move it from this end of the house to that end of the house. Well,
Oh,
the house was priced top of its market. So moving that bathroom is not going to add any value. So there's not going to be any after improved value, which is the key to these loans. What the house is going to be worth when the project is done. So if that's the situation, the house is at the top of its market and we're not adding any value, well,
got
this
it.
isn't going to work. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
And how are they assessing that? So they're taking, you go in and you say, okay, what I want to do, and you have a contractor write you a laundry list. Is it similar, I'm assuming, then to construction loans, where then the appraiser takes the current house, the value of it, everything, and then with the improvements you're going to do,
correct.
then they give you the value. And then
Absolutely.
that's where, and
Yeah.
is it the same as, obviously you can't borrow 100% of the value. So there has to be, what is
Sure.
your ratio? I
Right.
mean, and that may be a tricky question for a consumer that's watching, but that was just
Yeah.
more for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
The
the FHA loans on a purchase, it's 3.5% down of the
Okay,
total acquisition cost, which would be purchase price plus the renovation escrow. On
okay,
the conventional stuff, it's a minimum of 5% down. And then on the VA stuff, if that's a deal that we could do, it's potentially no money down.
okay,
So,
okay.
you know, and
And it's and again, you're telling me it's current market value plus your improvements, what that value is given, that's what you're putting your down payment off of. Okay, okay.
we call that the acquisition cost.
Thank
You
you.
know,
Yeah,
what it costs you to get into the house. So very simply, if you're doing 100,000, you're buying a $300,000 house, and you're doing $100,000 improvement, contractor invoice, and the house is going to appraise over that. We're in the ballpark. We just
gotcha.
got to see how close to the ballpark.
And if you're purchasing, it's not, your 21, 30-day close because the work, right? I mean, what are you from you're looking from contract to
We've done purchases in as little as 45 days, as long as the contractors have their act together, because they got to fill out some paperwork.
yeah,
And contractors like to hammer nails and saw boards. They don't like to fill out paperwork.
true.
So, depending on the contractor, that's usually my biggest holdup is the
Okay,
contract and my biggest problem. And, when it comes to the contractor, we don't choose the contract. There's no such thing as a renovation approved contractor. I get that question all the time. Do you have a list of contractors that are FHA approved to do reno? No, no. It's a
okay,
case by case basis. And we review that contractor to validate them, not to approve them. So we're looking at a little bit of their financials. We're looking at some references to make sure, hey man, your title is Joe's Electrical, and you want to be the general contractor on this $100,000 reno. Have you ever done this before? You
right,
know, so we're,
right.
we're going to review that and make sure. And then we're going to make sure that that contractor has enough money to carry themselves until they get their draws. Because generally, unless you do like an FHA, one of the smaller FHA variation, they get no money up front.
Okay,
Okay. So they got to have the financial strength. And I tell people, I have a sixth sense for this stuff. If this guy doesn't have any money, then how are you going to expect him to do a good job completing your work? Maybe he's a great contractor, but that's going to be a problem. You
yeah.
know,
So they don't even get. So I was under the impression. So this is good that you brought that up. That they got part of it, or
with
does
the
it?
FHA, what they used to, I'll ask for words right now.
Okay,
Sometimes that one word, I'll think of it 5 minutes after we get off here. What used to be the FHA streamline, they get 50% up front
okay,
after settlement, but
okay,
we don't do many of those.
okay.
So and that's another thing. When those folks are, when I'm having a conversation with these folks and I'm holding their hands through the process, I'm telling them, listen, you let me know who the contractor is that you want to use so
Right.
I can reach out to them and explain to them how this works, and how they get paid, because we don't want to have them waste a whole bunch of time and then find out, oh, I didn't realize that's the way you pay. I don't want any parts of this.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
and
again,
that's why
that's
you're
part of that
vetting
communication problem.
you're vetting these
Yeah,
contractors up front to make sure the buyers don't get in a predicament or
right.
a pickle and they're not able to fund the project completely until the end.
Yeah. Exactly. And another thing we run into a lot of in my area here is septic systems, man. A
Yeah.
septic system's 40 grand. And that's on a good day. And that's to bring everything to zero. Okay. Zero. We're at zero now, and you just dropped 40 grand. So, these are conversations that we have, we don't just gloss over. One of the first things I ask is the house you're looking at buying bank owned? Okay. Because if it is in the state of Pennsylvania, you got to pay both sides of the transfer tax. So that's another 2%. Okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, any inspections that you do, like if the house is well and septic, somebody's got to look at that septic system. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's money that you have to pay a septic contractor up front before you have the house. Okay. And that money's gone now. Okay. And then God forbid the septic system fails. We got to have the sewer enforcement officer and the septic contractor go out to the site. The septic contractor takes his backhoe machine and he digs a hole in the ground, maybe 5, 6, 8 feet deep. And they put a ladder down there. And Mr. Sewer Enforcement Officer guy has to go down into the hole with his little gauge and look at the soil and do a perk test and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's going to cost you about $2,500 that you're not going to get back, just to find out how much it's going to cost to fix
So
the septic system.
so
So
these
they're all
loans
married.
aren't really meant for
Yeah.
the like dingy down and out, like for sale,
And I
as
get
is
those all
homes.
the time.
These are, I mean, I'm sure you get the question because that's a
This
lot of
is a
work
what
up
job?
front.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those would be very much like you're gonna tear that's a whole different, but this
Yeah.
is very much like you're saying, you found a house in perfect
Right.
neighborhood. It needs a little bit more space or a
Yeah.
bedroom up front or the basement's not finished, right? And like you're looking to add, you can all that adds value.
Right.
Then you can technically finance that into the loan.
Sure.
We're not looking at those as is that has a tree growing through it, hoping that is a cash only investor deal
Well,
that then they
that's
come
our
to.
2-time close construction to perm project.
Yes.
Okay. We have
Yes.
the product for that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a tear down, start over. That
That's a
is not
different
a
animal.
renovation loan.
Exactly. We
Okay.
can do those. Okay. So bring those to us. But,
Yes, but that's a whole different podcast
yes,
loan. That's a whole
we're going
different
to steer you.
conversation.
Exactly. Exactly. And then on the other end of it, little projects. I've had people use these loans because they want to buy appliances and they want to put carpeting in the house. No problem. Easy peasy. We can close those in 30, 40 days. No big deal.
So
Okay.
what's the smallest renovation loan you've ever seen?
A kitchen sink, a faucet, a refrigerator, and a dishwasher. It was
And you can
probably
finance that in.
12 years ago. The guy did it, and we did an FHA, the little one, and he went to Home Depot for all of his stuff, and he's probably still living there, living the dream. You know what I mean? Putting his beer in the
Nice.
refrigerator that we bought him.
Is there
So
a cap? Is there a max amount? Like, could you do a $400,000 improvement?
I
Like,
have
is there
programs that will do that as long as the after improved value will support that.
okay. Well,
Okay.
obviously, yes, the after value has to. We're
Yeah.
not just gonna throw
And
400,000 worth of work and our house is only gonna be worth, 6. Yeah.
yeah,
But
that and the
there's no
county loan
limit,
limit,
meaning
the
you
county
have
loan
to
limit.
the project can only cost 100,000. So as long as it makes sense in the end, there is
Correct.
no limit. Okay.
As long as there's enough room to do it. A lot of people come to me, they want to build that pole barn out behind the house and put the
Mhm.
car lift in it and stuff. Well, come on, Melissa, you know as well as I do. If we're lucky, the appraiser's going to give them 10 grand for that. And it's
Yeah.
going to cost 60, 70 grand to build a building. So
Right.
I'm sorry. No, that's not going to fly.
And pools. We're not doing pools.
Wait, that $100,000 backyard, the appraiser's going to give you 10, 15 grand for it. So
Right.
no, no.
Okay.
Bobby
Yeah.
Flay's outdoor kitchen. Okay. If we can make that work, yes, but chances are no,
Yeah.
you know,
So maybe if it's in the overall project, right? Like if you're doing like an addition on the back and a
yeah,
patio and a kitchenette and like you're enhancing more than just
exactly.
I want a
Exactly.
patio with a really fancy outdoor kitchen or a
Right.
grill station, as my husband would
Yeah.
prefer.
And trust me, man, look at how big I am. I like to eat. I would love to have Bobby Flay's outdoor kitchen, but
Okay.
you're probably not going to be able to do it this way unless you bury it into another bigger project.
Unless you're adding,
Significantly.
yes. Okay. So unless you're
Yeah.
adding it to something else. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And that
So
we would have to do with the conventional loan because the FHA does not allow for quote unquote luxury items like that, like a pool, a built-in pool or the Bobby Flay's outdoor kitchen or things
yeah.
like
So we're structuring the loan based off of multiple things, right? Obviously, their credit, their income, all of that. That's going to determine some of this too. The projects, what the scope of the project, and then based
right.
off of that, you say, okay, this is the renovation loan that's going to work for what you want to do, and then we proceed from there on that
Right.
aspect. Okay.
Another thing about renovation lending, and I try to tell the loan officers and the realtors this all the time. I'll get a call. I'm the renovation specialist. So I'll get a call at, 4 o'clock. Hey man, my folks are going to go out and put an offer on this house and all the
Yeah.
things have to be in by 5. And it needs to be a renovation. Hold on. What's going on with this property? You know what I mean? And whatnot. And so now I'm looking on Zillow and all these other things at pictures and Google Earth and, trying to pull it off. But we need just a touch more preparation when it comes to a renovation loan to be able to structure this properly.
Yeah.
Um, and more importantly, we write the sales contract up differently with a renovation loan than we do a regular loan. Okay. So we don't mention loan amount because only God himself knows the loan amount at this point. Okay. So it's never mentioned in there. We don't
Yeah.
mention renovation costs. We say, hey, we're doing a renovation loan, whether it's conventional or FHA. And then we have a clause in the contract that we put in the remarks that protects them in case, maybe the house does appraise for what they want, but they don't want to be into it that deep. So there's a clause that we put in there to protect them so that they can get their deposit money back once more information comes in. So, these are little things that,
Yeah.
that pop up that people don't think of. And then, a lot of times I'll have this conversation with the realtor or the loan officer and they'll get a little upset, like, man, I'm sorry that I can go ahead and do it, but we're taking a chance here,
Yeah.
somebody's getting
So
left out in the cold.
It's hard to do last minute purchases on a rent is what you're
Gotta
saying.
be
So, I
prep,
mean,
man. Little prep.
yeah. Well, because how are you gonna know too, right? I mean, I suppose if you're walking into the house, you know you wanna do XYZ, but I think that's also a conversation for realtors to for the,
Yeah,
the selling agent to call the listing agent and have a conversation of, my buyers love this house, but they're thinking of X, Y, and Z and the
yeah,
time frame of the move of the sellers too.
right.
Because the market, even though it's slowed a little bit, a lot of people aren't gonna
Well,
wanna
building,
wait
maybe. Yeah.
45, 60 days for
Mhm.
the work and all the stuff to get approved. So that's
Correct.
definitely agent conversations to be had.
And that's
But
another thing.
refinancing your current house in the reno loan, would
That's
probably is a little bit more feasible
Yeah,
because you're
and
already in
that's
it.
a conversation that I like to have with the realtors too, you know, without the buyers being on the phone. "Hey, listen, you know, we're gonna do a three-way call or a conference call on this, and I just wanna let you know that in my experience in this hot market, when there's
Yeah,
gonna be 15 offers on the house and you approach somebody with the perceived hassle of a renovation loan, they're just gonna kick yours out, man, you
yeah,
know? I'm
yeah.
sorry, and they pay me to do renovation loans. I don't want that to happen, but, you know, you're gonna
It's
put a lot
like
of
they
work
could
into
just
this for
purchase
nothing.
it and
Yeah.
then do the work after the fact. I mean,
Well,
right?
that's
We could
different.
then
That's
we
different,
can
you know?
refi you.
And another thing is a lot of times people say, "Well, I already went through the house with my contractor and we're gonna do this, that, and the other thing." And then when I get the renovation consultant out there, they find there's 5 or 6 other mandatory repairs
Mm,
above and
yep,
beyond what they wanna do that it have to be done to bring the house up to C4 condition, minimum
yeah,
property standard, okay?
yeah,
And a lot of times contractors don't have that set of glasses, but the
right.
renovation consultant does. So when I have a project that, you know, is a little bit more than what we can kind of figure out, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll get a hold of the renovation consultant up front and he'll go out and do what's called a feasibility study for a nominal fee, a couple $100. And then if this ends up becoming a loan and we use his services, they'll credit that towards the
Okay.
total fee. But now we have the keys to the kingdom. We know exactly what to do and we can determine, hey man, you know, you thought this renovation was going to cost you 35 grand. It's probably going to cost you 55 grand based on
Okay.
what you're finding
It's
out.
like not doable. They're just a little bit harder on the purchase side because
Knowledge
of the
is key.
timing. The
Information
timing.
is key, you know?
Yeah. So if we're coming an agent comes across something, it's better to have a call with you up front
Yeah.
to determine what
Yeah.
we're doing. And again, for the agents to talk to each other. And I mean, if the house is, needs a lot of work and stuff like that, I mean, that I would feel like the listing agent would
Yeah.
know, hey, a 21-day close is not, maybe not going to be on the
You'd be
table if,
surprised, man. You'd
yeah,
be
and
surprised how
that's
many
true.
times I got to tell them, look, you know, what's this 20-day stuff? That ain't happening. I'll get you a commitment that quick, but we ain't close.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah,
a
well, it's a lot
contract.
of work, right? You said you gotta get the contractor's information. A lot of
Yeah.
people have to go out, the appraiser has to go out, so it's not
Sure.
necessarily of a funding a
Yeah.
loan aspect, it's just all the moving parts that have to get together, but put
Right.
together for them.
The good news here at CMG is we have a renovation loan department. So the credit underwrite, your normal loan processor on your team is going to handle the credit side of it. And anything having to do with renovation, there is a dedicated renovation loan processor this year that's an expert that's going to handle that. They're going to reach out to the contractors. They're going to do all that stuff after we get it
Yeah,
all set up. So it's not even going to overwhelm your system.
right.
You know, it works
Nice.
great. It works great here. I just couldn't be happier, man. You
I
know,
love that.
it's
I
our
love that.
process.
So anything you want to mention that I didn't ask or anyone that's watching this that I mean, I'm gonna put all your information in so people can
Sure.
reach out to you with specific questions or
Sure.
me through you.
And they can come to you to get to
Yeah,
me. That's fine.
yeah, most
Um,
definitely.
I am a fanatic about explanations and setting expectations. We had a situation. I'm going to talk to these folks here when we get off the call about refinancing now. But they wanted to buy a house that was in a rural area about 20 minutes from here. Beautiful area, you know, kind of farmy and
Mhm,
woodsy at the same time. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember there was a comics thing called Ranger Rick Comics, and it
mhm.
was like funded by the federal government. Well, the guy that was the illustrator for that, this was his house.
Oh,
And he
nice.
had just passed away, and his wife was like 95 years old, and they were kind of like hippies. Okay. So this house had no plumbing in it, no toilets, no nothing, you know, because that's how they wanted to live. But man, it was awesome. The site, 10 acres, beautiful, the whole nine. The buyers had never even heard of renovation before. The two realtors had never done one. And it was an estate sale. And the people making the decision for the estate, helping the surviving spouse, lived in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So to hear the word renovation and, oh my God, complications, it's going to be the end of the world. I
Right.
got on Zoom calls. I had the two realtors. I had the family members on both sides, the buyers, the sellers. We got on a Zoom call. We had a 45-minute Zoom call, and I went through every aspect of it. And the sellers then said, you know what? This sounds great. These folks are the kind of people we want to buy this house. So, I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not afraid to bring everybody together and have that session and
Yeah.
be foreman up front, because a lot of times you got to sell the listing realtor and their seller on, hey, this is no big deal. We do these all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
And after the day of settlement, you're done. Your money's gone. You're out. Okay. That's their problem now. Okay. And once we get through that, we can secure deals that normally wouldn't have been a possibility with just, a realtor made an offer and no explanation.
Yeah. I did a renovation loan. Ooh, to not the current house I'm in, but, to the one prior
Oh,
to,
cool.
and it was, and this is when there was a ton of short sales, so they
Yeah.
didn't care, right, the time frame
Right.
of it, right,
Well, that was
because
our heyday, man.
yeah, because, and there was really nothing wrong with it other than it had just been sitting, it was outdated, and
Sure.
we were like, "Okay, we wanted to redo the kitchen and the bathrooms and,
Right.
stuff like that, paint, carpet, the norm." But didn't want to come up with all of our cash either, and I, even
Right.
being in the business, had never even heard of one, and my
Wow.
realtor was like, "Hey, they have renovation loans." I was at a different
Yeah.
mortgage company then, and we did them, and I was like, "Oh, no kidding," and so I was like, "Gosh, people should be," in this course, in the market of short
Yeah.
sales, I'm like, "Why aren't we selling this product?" Because a lot of the houses then, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
people moved out, nothing was done, the house was foreclosed on or short sale, it had the pink walls, all
Mhm.
the stuff that, like, cosmetically, I think a lot of sellers now, when they go to sell, they do all that stuff, but
Yeah.
so then it didn't matter because we had, to wait for the approval, and so we had all the time to do it, but it's brilliant. I mean, we
I have
loved
some
it because
really cool
we
stories for that period of time, like
we
people
financed
sabotaging
everything
houses.
in, and it
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, yeah, well, look what it does to the neighborhood. You got a
Yeah.
blighted house, it looks like crap, the neighbors hate it, there possibly there's evil things going on there or illegal things going on there, and now you just turn that neighborhood around, that you took that blight, you moved the family into that, I mean,
Yeah.
ownership does so much for people, and
Yeah.
this is a way. I live in the Rust Belt, man. I'm gonna have 45 minutes north of Philly. Um, like 65% of our inventory is pre-World War II here. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
these homes are prime. I see these homes all the time. They have the pink sink in the bathroom and that wallpaper that your grandmother had
Yes.
put up. And
The
but it's
blue
a great
carpet.
house, man. These homes are built like battleships. So, we have the ability to come in there and take something with great bones and freshen it up to, the 21st century.
Yeah.
Now it's granite countertops. It's beautiful. I mean, so it's a great product. It's not a fit for everything. I like to tell people, before I did mortgages, I was a machinist, so I'm very
Okay.
mechanical. I've always worked on cars my whole life. So if you walk into my garage, I got a toolbox in my garage, and when I stand up next to it, it comes up to here. There's probably 30 drawers in this toolbox. Well, this is one more tool to have in those drawers, okay? To
Yeah.
help you get more loans and help your realtor sell more houses and help that family get into the house that maybe they necessarily didn't think they could, but it's priced below market. They could do some work
Yes.
to it and make it beautiful and raise a wonderful family there.
Yeah. No, I
Change the
agree.
neighborhood.
And I mean, if you're currently in your house and you don't wanna move, and I mean, because that's the flip side too. I mean, yes, the interest rate's gonna change because you are financing it,
Yeah.
but you're
But
just
hey, now you're doing that good. You're gonna pull the kids out of school. They don't have to leave their
yeah.
friends. And you
Yeah.
can make the kitchen look like that one you just saw on TV. Do it all the
Yep.
time, man. Do it all the time. You know,
Well, I love
Raise the
it.
roof, second story, the whole nine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that can be done, and I think that a lot of the people that I've talked to, and they're like, "Oh, no, it's a construction loan." I'm like, "No, no, no,
Yeah.
you can do renovation loans. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a full." I mean, like you said, we do have that whole department, so we will do a construction loan.
Right.
But if you're like you said, if you're just looking for to finance in a little upgrade to your kitchen,
Yeah.
doable.
Hey,
Totally
we're moving
doable.
mom and dad in because they need help now. So let's build that in-law suite. We can put it in
Nice.
the
Yeah.
garage or we can add on to the house. Let's build on that in-law suite. We're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, we are.
It
We
seems
are.
like over in New Jersey, everybody's raising the roof of those ranches over there and building that second story. So the
Yeah.
possibilities are endless. We have the ability to do it. And in this difficult inventory situation, you already have the house. We just need to make it the way you want it. So you're not going to be up against multiple offers and all the heartbreak that goes along with that.
Yeah.
Good stuff. The
Sweet.
best kept secret in mortgage financing is what I
It's
like.
very true. It is very
It
true.
is.
Because again, there's a lot it's that stigma, though, it's so difficult. I mean, they're not easy, but again, you guys
They
are
are easy.
amazing. You guys
There's a
know what
few
you're
more
doing.
steps, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
They are
they're
easy.
just a little bit there's a little bit different than a traditional
Moving
mortgage.
sucks, man. Moving sucks. So if we can fix what you have, I
Yeah.
just helped my daughter move to Florida, man. That was 2 weeks ago, and my back is still saying, "Gene, that
That's
pain."
because we're old. We're old. That's why our backs hurt. My
All
husband, no
those
joke, literally what our 3-year-old decided she was gonna Sharpie on cabinets the other weekend, and all he did was bend down and wipe them off with one of those magic erase markers. He
Yeah,
stood up and he's like, "Sit, I'm done." I'm like,
I
"What'd
hear
you
you.
say?" He's
I
like,
hear you.
I all I did was bend over."
Playing for all those full contact sports I played all those years. When I raise my arm now, I go, "Oh,"
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
What? You know?
There's like a meme that's like, you're old when literally like sleeping with the wrong pillow does you in for 2 weeks,
Yeah, yeah, you gotta go
get
see
out
the
of bed and you're like,
chiropractor because you slept I slept funny last night. What? It's
yeah,
this,
I see a chiropractor regularly because that's
every 2
my
weeks. Every 2
every 2 weeks, yes.
Dr. Tony. Absolutely.
Mine's Doctor Tyler, so but yeah,
Okay,
that's
well, there
great.
you go. Yeah.
Alright, well, I appreciate you coming on and giving all
Can't
this
thank you enough.
information.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I
Anything you
will
need, reach
tag
out.
you and get people your way if they have additional questions,
Awesome.
and we will see everybody next time. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you guys soon.